Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I'm Dr. Sudhanshu Joshi from Doon University, Dehradun. Today we are going to talk on module Operation Management in Manufacturing and Services under the paper Operation Management. After completing this module, you will be able to explain the scope of decision making in operations management. You will understand the strategic aspect of decision making in operation management. You will also be able to understand various tools and techniques used in operation management in context to service and manufacturing sector. Now let us explore operations in context to manufacturing and service sectors. As we are aware of that operation is the part of business organization that is responsible for producing goods or services. Goods are the physical items that includes raw material, parts, subassembling such as motherboard that go into computers, or final products such as cell phone or automobiles. Whereas services are the activities that provide some combination of time, location, form, or psychological value. Example of goods and services are found all across us. Every book we read, every video we watch, every email or text message we receive, every telephone conversation we have, every medical treatment we have gone through, it includes operation function of one or more than one organization. Let us understand operation management from system approach. A system is a group of interrelated items in which no item is studied in isolation, and each item will act in the same way as it would in the system. A system has many subsystems and it is a part of a large system. System boundaries define what is inside the system and what is outside. The outside environment of a system affects the behavior of a system at high level. Systems inputs are physical objects of the information, then enter it from the environment, and its output are the same which leaves it for the environment. Operation system activities can be classified as input, transformation process, and output. Operation management transforms input into output that provides added value to the customer. Operation management in manufacturing and service sector. The following figure depicts the system approach of operation management. Input. It includes factor production including land, labor, capital, equipment, technology. Second stage will be transformation, where the input transforms into output in the form of a good or service. Transformation includes alteration, transformation, storage, inspection. The transformation is influenced by the environment, where the environmental actors including customers, suppliers, competitors, regulators, economy and technology agents customize the transformation process and make it more enabled. Also, management, monitoring and control processes help transformation to restructure itself as a process. After transformation stage, the last stage will be output, which is the resultant in the form of sellable goods and services. Characteristics of effective operation management. Following are some priorities which operation management needs to consider. Acquiring capabilities to tolerate product proliferation. Every organization needs to understand customers' needs and incorporate them into a new product initiatives. In order to satisfy the expectation of customers, organizations need to change their process accordingly. Relate operation system to customers or market. Before choosing a particular operation system, an organization needs to consider the demand of their valuable customers. If customers has difficulty in using the product, then it could be rectified. Develop systems and procedures that promote learning. Continuous improvement is very important for the organization. These improvements do not take place in isolation because the continuous learning by the employees in an organization. Operational strategy, its need and scope. The process by which key business operations decisions are made is known as operational strategy. These key business decisions are consistent with the overall strategic objectives of the firm. A firm's operational strategy is affected by several factors. So, before making any operational decision, the firm need to consider such factors. The factors which needs to be considered are as under. First, the competitive dynamics with change due to several factors. On account of this, the expectation of the customers also change. The firms need to analyze competitive dynamics before making an operational strategy. Organizations need a structural approach to scan the market and make operational strategy as per the requirements. Third point could be with the change in the marketplace, the competitive priorities for an organization must also change. Organization needs to tune their operations to match with the competitive priorities. It is important for the organization to develop the capabilities to devise optimum strategy for operation management and revisit the strategic formulation exercise whenever there is a requirement of change. Operation strategy implementation process. A strategic formulation process involves following steps: understanding the competitive market dynamics, identifying order qualifying and order winning attributes. Next, identifying strategic options for sustainable competitive advantage, devise the overall corporate strategy, arrive at the operations strategy. Various concepts of operation management includes quality, efficiency, responsiveness to customers. The term quality simply means the fulfillment of customers' expectation. For example, reliable goods and services can fulfill customers' expectation. Efficiency means product and producing the products that requires amount of output with a given level of inputs. Responsiveness to customers means actions taken to respond to customers' need. Firm can react quickly and correctly to customers' need as they arise. In this section, we will undergo some basic definition of operation management and related terms. So let us take operation management as the initial definition. Operation management is the management of systems or processes that creates goods and or provide services. One definition could be of term supply chain, which is a sequence of activities the organization involved into while they produce some product or deliver some good or services. We have a basic definition of goods, which is a physical item produced by a business organization. A definition could be of services, which includes the activities that provide some combination of time, location, form, and psychological value. We have a term called value added. The difference between the cost of inputs and the value of or the price of output is called value added. That is the price the customer is going to pay after you are serving a product or service to them, and by its own expectation and by its own virtue of wisdom. Capacity could be the upper limit or ceiling on the load of that the operating unit can handle. Design capacity is one of the definition, which is maximum design service capacity or the output rate. Now, efficiency capacity means design capacity minus allowances such as personal time, equipment maintenance, delays due to schedule problems, and changing the mix of the products. Operations of goods and services. We can classify organization into two broad categories, namely manufacturing and services. Manufacturing organization produces physical, tangible items which can be stored as inventory before delivering to the customers. Service organization produces intangible items that cannot be produced ahead of time. One of the key development in operation is the increasing importance of service operations, as service industry accounts for an increasing proportion of the output of industrialized economies. Goods means anything that we can see or touch. It may take place in a factory, but it can also occur elsewhere. For example, farming and restaurant products. Non-manufacturing goods. Delivery of services, on the other hand, generally implies an act. For example, physician's examination, or TV or automobile repair, or lawn care, or the projection of a film in a theater. They could be the examples of the services. Similarities between manufacturing and service operation. Manufacturing and services are often different in terms of what is done, but quite similar in terms of how it is done. Consider these points of comparison. Degree of customer contact. Many service involves a high degree of customer contact, although service such as internet providers, utilities, and mail service do not. When there is a high degree of contact, the interaction between server and customer become a moment of truth that will be judged by customer every time the service occurs. Labor content of jobs. Services often have a high degree of labor content than manufacturing jobs do, although automated services are an exception. Uniformity of inputs. Service operations are often subject to a high degree of variability of inputs. Each client, patient, customer, repair job, and so on presents a somewhat unique situation that requires assessment and flexibility. Conversely, manufacturing operations often have great ability to control the variability of inputs, which leads to more uniform job requirements. Measurement of productivity. Measurement of productivity can be more difficult for service job due to largely in high variation of inputs. Thus, one doctor might have a high level of routine cases to deal with, while another might have more difficult cases. Unless a careful analysis is conducted, it may appear that doctor with the difficult case has a much low productivity than the one with the routine cases. Quality assurance. Quality assurance is usually more challenging for services due to the high variation in input and because delivery and consumption occurs at the same time. Unlike manufacturing, which typically occurs away from the customer and allows mistakes that are identified to be corrected, services have less opportunity to avoid exposing the customers to mistakes. Inventory. Many services tend to involve less use of inventory than manufacturing operations, so the cost of having inventory on hand are lower than they are for manufacturing. However, unlike manufacturing goods, services cannot be stored. Instead, they must be provided on demand. Wages. Manufacturing jobs are often well paid and have less wage variation than service jobs, which can range from high paid professional services to minimum wage workers. Difference between manufacturing and service operations in terms of their characteristics. If we go with the characteristics of goods and services, they behave differently. For example, output. If you see from the output perspective, goods are giving tangible outputs, services are having intangible outputs. If we go with the customer contract characteristics, goods has low customer contract characteristic, whereas services are having the high customer contract characteristic. Labor content is comparatively low in the goods manufacturing, wherever in the case of services it is very high because it required more quality and more devotion of the laborers. Uniformity of inputs is much high in case of goods because they follow the mass customization or mass production set of standards. Whereas in services, uniformity of inputs is low and it vary actually. Characteristics in terms of measurement of the productivity is easy in terms of goods, whereas in the case of services, it is difficult. Like we took an example of the physician. Capacity planning and strategic decisions for services and manufacturing operating management. Capacity planning is a key strategic component in designing the system. It encompasses many basic decisions with long-term consequences for organization. Capacity refers to an upper limit or ceiling on the load that an operating unit can handle. Loads might be the terms of number of physical units produced, for example, bicycle assembling per hours, or the number of service performed, for example, computers upgradation per hour. The operating unit might be a plant, department, machine, store, or a worker. Capacity needs includes equipment, space, employee skills. The goal of strategic capacity planning is to achieve a match between long-term supply capabilities of the organization and the predicted level of long-term demand. Organization between involvement in capacity planning for various reasons. Among the chief reasons are change in demand, change in technology, change in environment, and perceived threats or opportunities. A gap between current and desired capacity will result in capacity that is out of balance. And the key question in the capacity planning are the following. It comes in the mind of the operation manager. What kind of capacity is needed? How much is needed to match the how much capacity is needed to match the demand? When and what when it is needed? Various measures of capacity. If you see from the perspective of measures of capacity, manufacturing and service sectors are treated differently. For example, in auto manufacturing, inputs are labor hours or machine hours, and output are number of cars per shifts. This is an example of manufacturing and service continuum, where inputs are basically the service part and the output are in the terms of the manufacturing capability. Second example could be steel mill, where the furnace size is the input and output is the tons of steel manufactured per day. Similarly, it goes with the oil refinery, where the number of acres will be the inputs and gallons of fuel will be the output per day. In case of farming also, we have number of cows as an input. Output could be bushel of the grains per acre per year. We have another beautiful example of restaurant where the number of tables and sitting capacity is the inputs and the output could be number of meals served per day. These different measurements of capacity are useful in defining two measures of system effectiveness. One is efficiency and second is utilization. Efficiency is the ratio of actual output to effective capability. Capacity utilization is the ratio of actual output to design capacity. Mathematically, efficiency is equals to actual output divided by effective capacity in percentage terms, whereas utilization is equals to actual output divided by design capacity in percentage terms. Now, determinants of effective capacity. Many decisions about system design have an impact on capacity. The same is true for many operating decisions. The main factors related to facilities, product or service, process, human consideration, operational factors, the supply chain, and the external forces. The very important element is facilities. The design of the facility, including size and the provision for expansion, is the key mantra of success. Locational factors also plays a very important role, such as transportation cost, distance to the market, labor supply, energy sources, and room for expansion, etc. Product and service factors. Product or service design can have a tremendous influence on capacity. For example, when items are similar, the ability of the systems to produce those items is generally much greater than when successive items differ. Thus, a restaurant that offers a limited menu can usually prepare and serve meals at a faster rate than a restaurant with a extensive menu. Second factor could be process factors. The quality capacity of a process is an obvious determinant of capacity. A more subtle determinant is the influence of output quality. For instance, if the quality of output does not meet standards, the rate of output will be slowed by the need for inspection and rework activities. Productivity also affects capacity. Process improvement that increase quality and productivity can result in increased capacity. Also, if multiple products or multiple services are processed in batches, the time to change over equipment settings must be taken into account. Human factor, as discussed, plays a very important role. The task that makes up a job and the variety of activities involved, including training, skill, experience required to perform a job, all have an impact on the potential and actual output. In addition, employees' motivation has a very basic relationship to the capacity. So do absenteeism and labor turnover. Now, policy factor is essentially impacting the overall capacity of a production or a service delivery. So management policies can affect capacity by allowing or disallowing capacity options such as overtime or second or third shifts. The operational factors, scheduling problems may occur when an organization has differences in equipment capacities among alternative pieces of equipments or differences in job requirements, inventory stocking decisions, late deliverables, purchasing requirements, acceptability of purchasing material and parts, and quality inspection and control procedures also can have impact on the effective capacity. Whereas inventory shortage has also its contribution. Inventory shortage of even one component of an assembling item, for example computers, refrigerator or automobile, can cause a temporary halt to the assembling operation until the component become available. This can have a major impact on effective capacity. Thus, insufficient capacity of one area can affect the overall capacity of the product or service. One factor could be supply chain factors. The supply chain factors must be taken into account in capacity planning if substantial capacity changes are involved. Now, the key question which comes into the mind of a learner is, what impact will be the changes have on suppliers, warehousing, transportation, and on distribution? If capacity will be increased, will these elements of the supply chain be able to handle the increased capacity? Conversely, if the capacity goes down or decreases, what impact will be on the loss of the business have on these elements of the whole supply chain? Few factors are external, which are basically coming from the outside of the business system, like product standards, especially minimum quality and performance standards, can restrict management's options for increasing and using the capacity. Thus, pollution standard on products and equipment often reduces the effective capacity, as does paperwork required by the government regulatory agencies by engaging employees in non-productive activities will also a challenge for the business organization. A similar effect occurs when a union contract limits the number of hours and types of work an employee may do. So students, let's now summarize what we have learned in this module. We are going through the basic definition and scope of operational function as a part of business organization that produces products or deliver the service. We have understood operation consists of processes that converts input into output, and failure to manage these processes may lead to losses to the business. Effectiveness has negative impact on the organization, we try to understood through. And the key objective or key goal of the business organization is to achieve the economical matching between demand and supply is the crux of this discussion. Also, we have understood how operational function is responsible for providing the supply or supply capacity for expected demand. We also understood how product and services must be taken into account for managerial standpoint, and also we understood the similarity between two different entities, the demand supply of goods and services. We also try to understand how environmental issues will increase the impact on operational decision making, and we touched upon the ethical behavior of ethical behavior as an integrated part of goods and services management practices. And therefore, all business organization by and large has to strengthen their operation and supply chain for better results and effective outcomes. Thank you.